We are Baltimore. We are Arizona.
The Diamondbacks franchise rose from the desert in 1998, clothed in purple and teal, playing under the hot Arizona sun, yet boasting a glorious pool and a retractable roof. 1998 was the start of an amazing run.
Diamondbacks are on the board with their first run.
As the years rolled on, the stars of Arizona baseball shone brightly. Incredible moments,
13 home runs in the back-to-back.
priceless memories,
And the hitting streak goes to 30.
one incredible night. Tonight, we honor Diamondbacks past while celebrating the future of this proud franchise. Players will don the purple and teal. Fans will look back and smile. Welcome to Throwback Thursday.
Chase Field in downtown Phoenix is the place to be this weekend. The Mets in town for a long weekend series. The fans on their way in, and the purple and teal is back out on this Throwback Thursday. Not sure if you've heard, we've been pretty busy around here. Another dramatic win yesterday, followed by a big roster move. Then another change this morning. It's time to get your purple on Fox Sports Arizona. And good evening from Chase Field. Welcome to the broadcast on this Throwback Thursday. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly. The purple is out here for the first of four against the New York Mets, and it's a new-look Diamondback ball club here tonight. Following yesterday's trade of Mark Trumbo to Seattle, Bob, we got some new faces in here.
Yeah, geez, we take one day off of televising the game, and all kinds of changes happened overnight. Mark Trumbo, along with Vidal Nuno, traded to the Seattle Mariners. The primaries, Wellington Castillo, a catcher, Dominic Leone, a relief pitcher. Both guys experienced veterans. Castillo with some time in the big leagues, a power right-handed bat, real strong defensive catcher. And this is something that had to happen. You had to clear a spot at some point for Yasmani Tomas with the impending return of Jake Lamb, and we knew it was going to happen sooner or later. It just so happened to be sooner.
D-backs getting a couple of promising minor leaguers in that deal as well. Archie Bradley put on the DL this morning, 15 days, right shoulder tendonitis. So Robbie Ray, who was so good in his Diamondbacks debut not too long ago at Coors Field in Colorado, gets the start tonight.
Yeah, Robbie Ray was really impressive in that start in Colorado. First of all, the numbers were really good. He dominated a strong Colorado offensive ball club and did it with a lot of poise and a lot of confidence, which is not easy to do pitching at mile-high altitude.
So the lefty Robbie Ray makes his Chase Field debut against the Dark Knight, Matt Harvey. The Mets have their ace on the mound. The Diamondbacks this year have done pretty well against other teams' aces. They'll get one more shot tonight as Matt Harvey faces off against Robbie Ray. First pitch on the way from Chase Field after this.
Brought to you in part by Cox Gigablast. How will you live the gig life? By Lone Butte Casino. We're in for more winning moments at Lone Butte Casino. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the new black pepper cheeseburger today, only at Jack in the Box.
Welcome back to Chase Field, where it is Throwback Thursday as the Diamondbacks welcome the Mets to town for a 4-game series. I'm Kate Longworth. Well, it's Matt Harvey who gets the nod tonight for New York at the place where it all began. The Dark Knight made his debut back in 2012 right here at Chase Field, but after season-ending Tommy John surgery the following year, Harvey was not sure if he'd ever return to pitching at the major league level. But fast forward to 2015, and so far the righty looks like he's returned to his all-star form. This is just a small sample size, but Harvey's velocity is back and he's demonstrated top of the rotation stuff. But fortunately for the D-backs, getting to the opponent's ace hasn't been a problem as of late, whether it's Clayton Kershaw or Madison Bumgarner on the mound, or most recently Shelby Miller. The Diamondbacks have proved that they can bring the big bats against the big names. The players told me the game plan tonight is to get to Harvey early in an effort to make him uncomfortable, because Arizona is hoping for another throwback victory. The vintage purple and teal was good to the Diamondbacks in May when they blanked the Padres 11-0. Can they do it again? Only time will tell. First pitch is on the other side.
After taking 2 of 3 from the Braves, we begin with the first of 4 against the team just ahead of Atlanta. In the NL East, the New York Mets, who are only a half game off their division lead. And the Diamondbacks trying to keep that winning mojo going, having won 10 of their last 16 games. And on the mound tonight, your Arizona Ford starting pitcher, Robbie Ray, outstanding in his Diamondbacks debut. That was May 6th at Coors Field against the Rockies. He worked 6 innings of 1-run ball, 5 hits, 5 strikeouts, and most importantly for him, he did not walk a batter.
Did not walk a man. He was really good against the Rockies. That was game 2 of the doubleheader. The Diamondbacks swept that double dip. The only run he gave up was a leadoff hit to Troy Tulowitzki in the 4th inning, and 2 outs later a double to Michael McHenry. Other than that, he was spectacular against the Rockies.
And his command has been an issue from time to time in the past, but against Colorado, 92 pitches in 6 innings, 66 strikes. The panels are closed, the roof is open. It looks like we've had a bit of a haboob outside. Yeah. Some wind and some dirt making its way into the ballpark. You can see it's breezy down there as Ruben Tejada steps in. One of the hottest hitters in the Mets lineup right now. He's got it up to 310 on the year. First of 4 Diamondbacks and Mets on a breezy Throwback Thursday in downtown Phoenix. And there's strike one. Brian O'Nora is our plate umpire tonight.
Shades of Candlestick Park here in downtown Phoenix.
The 0-1. And they wait to open the roof really almost to the last moment here to keep it as cool as possible. And as soon as things opened up, the breeze and the dirt came in. So we'll see if we continue with things open here as the game moves along. 1-1 to Tejada. He's got a 6-game hitting streak, 13 hits over his last 6 games. He's been red hot. Archie Bradley on the 15-day DL, right shoulder tendonitis. Robbie Ray called up today to take the start. And everyone else in the Diamondbacks rotation is pushed back a day because Robbie Ray was scheduled to pitch today for the Aces. So this is his day to throw. So rather than make him wait, 10, 11, 12 days and keep everyone else in the rotation online, they wanted Robbie Ray to get in there on his normal day today.
And really, it shouldn't harm the rest of the guys in the rotation to take an extra day. I personally like that idea. Every so often when you get an opportunity, push everybody back a day. Just give them a little extra rest and rehab time before they go back out there to take the mound again.
He's gone full on Ruben Tejada. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Yeah, Robbie Ray's last start for Reno was last Friday. That was at home against New Orleans. He went 7 innings, allowed only 2 runs on 4 hits, and struck out 9. Young left-hander, just 23 years old. But Tejada's given him a battle here to open up the ball game. He throws hard. Most lefties don't throw mid to upper 90s. Robbie Ray does. Daniel Murphy will be next. 57 strikeouts in just under 42 innings this year at Reno. Tejada knocks it into right field. Inciarte over there to cut it off, and Ruben Tejada extends his hitting streak. He's now hit safely in 7 straight. Let's take a look at the lineup tonight for Terry Collins, New York Mets.
Ruben Tejada at the top, playing second base. Daniel Murphy at third base. Michael Kadire out in left field. Lucas Duda at first base. Wilmer Flores playing shortstop. John Mayberry Jr. out in right field. Juan Lagares, one of the great defenders, out in center. Kevin Plawecki doing the catching for right-hander Matt Harvey.
Here is Daniel Murphy in there at third base tonight. Scorching hot at the plate right now. And there's strike 1. Murphy is up to 281 for the year, but that batting average was down in the 230s about 2 weeks ago. Over his last 13 games, he's hit over 400. Flare out to left field. Peralta fighting that wind that carries over his head. Tejada had to hold up. He's in at third. Tim Tuffle stops him there, and Murphy's in at second. Swirling wind, some dirt in the air out there, and it fooled David Peralta. He scored a double for Murphy.
You can see the wind blowing the jersey out there in left field. David Peralta really fooled by that one. High fly ball into medium depth left field, just kept drifting and drifting, ends up on the warning track, getting over the head, putting Mets at second and third with nobody out.
You can see that wind down there on that field. It got Peralta that time. So Robbie Ray in immediate trouble here. Tejada at third, Murphy at second, nobody out, and here's Michael Kadire. Kadire hitting just over 270. He's got 5 home runs. He has hit safely in 8 straight games, and he's really been on a tear lately. Collins has all his hot hitters right up at the top of this lineup. Kadire over his last 16 games hitting better than .340. Won a batting title 2 years ago as a Colorado Rocky.
95 right by him. Rays ahead, a ball and 2 strikes.
Well, the Mets, to listen to Ron Darling and the rest of the broadcast crew for the Mets, are an offensively challenged team. First 2 batters notwithstanding, but innings 1, 2, and 3 in a ball game, they've scored the fewest runs in the National League. Innings 4, 5, and 6, they've scored the most in the National League. And then once again, 7, 8, 9, the fewest.
Yeah, they are very top heavy here tonight, that's for sure. There's not a lot of hits in the bottom portion of their order, but as we mentioned a moment ago, all the guys up top, really 1 through 4, really swing the bats well right now, including Lucas Duda, a big power threat on deck. 1-2 to Kadire. Kadire will strike out. He's been striking out more often than ever this year. But a lot of that during a very slow start for him in New York. But the strikeout rate over 23%. That's the highest mark of his career. There it is. Ring him up and sit him down. A big out number 1 for Robbie Ray.
Just as you talk about the strikeouts for Michael Kadire, he takes a fastball on that outside corner just below the belt for a called strike 3.
This is the Diamondbacks defensively on this Throwback Thursday.
We've seen David Peralta struggle in left field, A.J. Pollock in center, Ender Inciarte over in right. It'll be Tomas and Ahmed on the left side of the infield, Owings and Goldschmidt on the right side, with Jared Saltalamacchia doing the catching for lefty Robbie Ray.
Wellington Castillo and Dominic Leone are both here, the new players they got from Seattle in the Trumbo deal. Big swing and a miss by Duda. And Rays ahead 0-1. Lucas Duda, big dude up there, 6'4", 255, 292 and 9 homers. And near the top of the league leaderboard with 16 doubles. Good pitch there by Robbie, who's ahead 0-2.
Well, you'd never know it by the first 2 deliveries there to Lucas Duda, but he has really improved his numbers against left-handed pitching this year. There was a time last season he probably wouldn't have played tonight against Robbie Ray.
Hit 180 versus left-handers last year. They told him to work on it in the offseason. And this year he's hitting 360 against left-handers, including 4 home runs. And he chases one there. Robbie Ray bouncing back, and now he's 1 out away from stranding those base runners. He struck out Kadire. He gets Duda.
Good slider, starts it down low, breaks it out of the zone. Duda cannot hold up. Way out in front of that one.
So 2 outs now. It's the shortstop, Wilmer Flores. 250 on the year. The bat is starting to come around. Already a career high 8 home runs. Tejada the runner at third, and Murphy at second. 2 outs. Ball 1.
Flores, a guy that doesn't like to walk very often. 176 at bats in his 49 games coming into play tonight. Only 5 walks.
He's 23 years old. He'll be 24 in August. He's hit safely in 5 straight. Ray behind 2 balls and no strikes. Flores 9 RBIs in his last 10 games. He's been pretty productive lately. How about that?
Hey, nice, nice.
The BB bobble on Throwback Thursday. That's in there. 96, 2-1. He's already throwing smoke. 22 pitches so far, 15 for strikes. We saw that velocity last month at Colorado as well. 2-1 pitch. That's in the seats. He's a strike away. Robbie Ray has pitched very well at Reno lately. Last 3 starts, 1-0, a 2.25 ERA. He's allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in his last 3 times out for the Aces. A strike away from getting out of a big first inning jam right here. It's full, missed at 97. John Mayberry Jr. will be the on-deck hitter.
For the 21st time this season, most in the National League, Diamondback starting pitchers have thrown more than 20 pitches in the first inning.
It's been a recurring theme and a problem as those pitch counts get up there and the bullpen wears down. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. On the ground to second, Chris Owings. Robbie Ray, second and third, nobody out. And he strands both runners. We are underway on Throwback Thursday at Chase Field. New York Mets, who start tonight only a half game out of first in the NL East, but they have struggled on the road. Losers of 9 of their last 10 away from Citi Field. New York only 8-17 on the road this year as they open a 4-game series here at Chase Field with the Dark Knight on the mound. Matt Harvey, 26-year-old right-hander, your Arizona Ford starting pitcher, an all-star in 2013, may have been the best pitcher in baseball 2 years ago until he got hurt. And he has returned to form this year, Bob, after Tommy John surgery.
Oh, a crazy number. Strikeout to walk ratio 7-1. Has a really good fastball that he'll use up in the zone a lot. Imperative that the Diamondbacks hitters lay off that high fastball. Also throws a curve, slider, a changeup. More curves than sliders since the Tommy John surgery.
Ender Inciarte leads it off for the Diamondbacks and takes strike 1. Ender hitting .284, a pair of homers. He looks good in the purple. Purple is everywhere at the ballpark tonight. All the Diamondback staffers wearing purple, and the uniforms are out as well. Lagares in center. He can really go get them out there. One away. The lineup for Chip Hale on this Throwback Thursday. Now that Mark Trumbo's in Seattle, a lot of questions about what this will look like.
Yeah, well, we know Ender Inciarte leads it off in right field. A.J. Pollock in center. Paul Goldschmidt at first base. Yasmani Tomas cleaning up tonight at third base, followed by David Peralta in left field. Chris Owings at second base. Jared Saltalamacchia doing the catching. Nick Ahmed at shortstop, and Robbie Ray on the mound.
A.J. Pollock can't hold up there.
Yeah, with Lagares and Pollock in this game, you'll see 2 of the best center fielders in the game going at it here.
AJ at .318, that puts Pollock 6th best in the National League, right behind Bryce Harper. Lagares a Gold Glover. Pollock should be. And AJ, another 2-hit game yesterday in that dramatic win over the Braves. A double and a home run. In fact, he has homered in back-to-back games for the first time in his career. Pollock yesterday afternoon in the big comeback against Atlanta.
After hitting a ball in the pool the day before, he pulls one to left field yesterday.
Harvey bounces that one. This is your classic big right-hand power pitcher, 6'4", 215. Averaging about 10 strikeouts for every 9 innings pitched. A big-time horse, an ace, a guy that goes deep into ball games, and he is the darling of Met Nation. AJ bangs it into left. The Mets line up defensively around the Dark Knight, Matt Harvey.
Michael Kadire out of left field, Juan Lagares in center field, John Mayberry Jr. over in right. It'll be Daniel Murphy and Wilmer Flores on the left side of the infield, with Ruben Tejada and Lucas Duda on the right side. Kevin Plawecki doing the catching for right-hander Matt Harvey.
Paul Goldschmidt. AJ 13 stolen bases in 17 attempts this year. And Harvey will throw over. Goldie third in the major leagues in hitting at .349. Second in the majors in RBIs, walks, on base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, and anything else you can think of.
Probably include at-bats pitched around for Goldie. He's got to be leading the world in that.
Well, I can tell you this, no hitter in baseball has received more intentional walks than Paul Goldschmidt this year. 13, which is 3 more than Miguel Cabrera and 4 more than Mike Trout. And then there are the pitch arounds. Hashtag Vote Goldie 2015 Major League Baseball All-Star Game coming up in July, only on Fox from Cincinnati. Last 10 games, hard to beat those numbers. 15 walks in 10 games. Pollock holds it first. Goldie holds off, and it's 3-0.
Well, you mentioned the intentional walks to Paul Goldschmidt, leading the National League with 13. Unfortunately, the guys hitting behind Goldie are 0 for 12 with 1 walk after an intentional walk. So that has to be remedied, and remedied quickly.
Tomas in the cleanup spot behind Goldie. Peralta behind him. 3-0 is in there at 96. This guy throws hard. Made his major league debut here July of 2012. Worked 5 1/3 scoreless. Had 11 strikeouts. 3-1 to Goldie. AJ holds it first. That's ball 4. Breaking news, Paul Goldschmidt has walked.
How about that?
2 on, 1 out for Yasmani Tomas.
Boy, this is a big at bat for Yasmani Tomas. Number one, to establish to the Mets that they're going to have to give Goldie something to hit, because Tomas is going to do some damage. He's a big at bat in this series. What he does right here will carry a long way through the next 3 games after tonight.
331 with a homer. Pollock at second, Goldschmidt at first. Harvey 12 pitches so far, only 5 of them strikes. He's very careful with Goldie, but now he'll have to attack Tomas with 2 on and 1 out. Yasmani a little 1 for 13 bump in the road once that 11-game hit streak ended, but he is right back in the fast lane. 2 hits and an RBI in Tuesday's win over the Braves. 3 hits and an RBI yesterday.
There's a changeup at 88. Average velocity for Harvey this year right at 96 miles an hour. He can jump it up above that even, but pitches comfortably in the mid-90s. When you hit 96 with your fastball, your changeup will be in the high 80s.
Some big strikeout numbers, can be as dominant as any pitcher in the game, but Harvey for a variety of reasons, winless in his last 5 starts, mostly due to lack of run support. 0-2 to Tomas. Bounce to third. Murphy. Duda, they rolled it. So the ground ball, double play ball gets Harvey out of a jam. We are scoreless after 1 at Chase Field. Women's World Cup begins as China takes on the host Canadian team. Then on Monday, don't miss Team USA's first game. They will take on Australia. Plus games all weekend long on Fox, Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2, and all streaming live on Fox Sports Go. John Mayberry Jr. leads off the Mets second. Looks at strike 1 from Robbie Ray. Mayberry seeing most of his time against left-hand pitching in his first season with the Mets at both corner outfield spots, but as you can see here, not hitting a whole lot. And laces that one fair down the left field line. It bounces off the bullpen wall. Peralta slow to pick it up, and Mayberry posts into second with his 8th double.
Robbie Ray had to pitch around some traffic in that first inning, was able to escape a second and third nobody out jam. Immediately in hot water again here as Mayberry hit a slider down into that left field corner for a leadoff double.
Brings up the center fielder Juan Lagares. Lagares 254 on the year, and he is really slumping. On base percentages in the tank, the average is plummeting. Lagares hit almost 300 in April, but he's followed that up with a 211 May.
Not even an effort to move that ball to the right side of the field. Lagares is looking for something he can jerk down into that left field corner the way Mayberry did, but now he finds himself in an 0-2 hole. One and two. Talking to Ron Darling before the ball game about this Mets team, he said, "What do you want to know? We can pitch, and that's it." Offense has really been sputtering this year. The defense has been inadequate, but man, can they run some arms out of the rotation and the bullpen.
That's in the seats.
Oh, we have a moment. Let's take a look at our Valley Honda dealer keys to the game. Against the dark night tonight, we've got a ray of light in Robbie Ray on the mound, so he will overcome the dark night and keep the Mets under 4. When they score 4 runs or more, they're 22-3 this season. Ray of light against the dark night.
Mitch Riggin.
Yeah.
From our writing staff, very proud of that one. Kevin getting an assistant to credit on that. As Lagares knocks it into left, and the Mets have runners on their corners with nobody out to open up the second.
Another slider. This time it hangs up a little bit more. He was hoping to break that down toward the back foot of Lagares, but hung up over the middle of the plate. He bangs it into left field for a base hit. Mets on the corners. I should mention, when the Mets score 3 or fewer runs, they're 7-22 this year.
Got to keep him to under 4. Well, Robbie Ray had second and third, nobody out, and escaped without a run in the first. Here he's got runners in the corners, nobody out. Kevin Plawecki, the catcher, at 206, couple of home runs. Plawecki, his first crack at the big leagues this year. He's a first-round draft pick 3 years ago out of Purdue. He's a Boilermaker. Called up from AAA near the end of April when Travis d'Arnaud went on the DL with a broken right pinky. But d'Arnaud is close to coming back. Supposed to start playing rehab games tonight, actually. There's the strike, 0-2. So Plawecki has had a look. They like what they see behind the plate. Poise, maturity. A good feel for catching. The bat hasn't shown up yet, but they think he'll be a hitter down the road. Well, you get 2 unproductive outs here. That's what you're looking for against 8 and 9 here. 2 unproductive outs. And you get Tejada up there with men still in the corners and 2 down and trying to hit it off the hook. Plawecki split last season in the minor leagues, AA and AAA. Hit .309 in the minors last season with 11 home runs. Mayberry, the runner, at third. Lagares, good speed at first. 1-2 pitch. Got him. Third strikeout for Robbie Ray. 1 down.
This should tell you something about the level of competition. That was strikeout number 30 this season for Plawecki in just over 100 at bats. You mentioned he played at Purdue. In his career, he struck out 29 times in 638 at bats.
This ain't West Lafayette.
No.
It's not Binghamton either. So 1 away. Here's the pitcher, Harvey. A long look down to Tim Tuffle at third. 1 for 19 on the year. Now they call Matt Harvey, in case you're not aware, of the Dark Knight, because he kind of got a Batman Gotham City New York thing going there. Shows bunt. Pops it up. That's what you were looking for. 2 unproductive outs, and now Tejada will bat with 2 down.
One previous sack bunt for Harvey this season. He just pops that one right out in front of home plate. Nice easy play for Robbie Ray coming straight in. 1 to go.
But it's the hot hitting Tejada who singled his first time up. He's hit in 7 straight. He has played his way into the organizational doghouse, but with all their injuries lately, Tejada has had an opportunity, and he is really taking advantage, swinging the bat right now better than he ever has. Mayberry at third, Lagares at first, 2 down. Ball 1. And Tejada since the beginning of May hitting better than .380. And he has moved all around the infield. He started games at third, short, and second. Ralph Kelso zooming in from high above. Later on we'll have to get a Ralph Kelso spot on weather forecast for the weekend. That's a highlight of every homestand, really. 1-1. Ralph puts the meat in meteorologist. Nice work, Ralphie. Boy, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I'd have a nickel. I think Ralph is developing quite a fan base up there.
Well, rightfully so.
He's the man.
See how high you can hit one here, Ruben. Guys on the bench in this situation, you say, hit a sac fly. Hit a sac fly to Pollock.
96 right by him.
Of course, with 2 outs in the inning, that would be the 3rd out.
A master strategist.
Yeah, you have to do something to entertain yourself over there on the bench.
Javi Ray had 2 on, nobody out in the first, got out of it. 2 on, nobody out in the second, trying to do the same right here. 2-2. Here, look at the Mets, 8-17 on the road, only a half game out of their division lead. Nobody's quite sure how they've been doing it. Mostly starting pitching.
And that great start they got off to at home. What were they, 11-1?
Yeah, they won 11 in a row at one point. That's in the seats. This is the way the National League East shapes up as of the moment. The Nationals a half game up. Atlanta just saw them. They're 3 back. Dan Jennings, in a stunning turn of events, has not yet turned around the Marlins as their skipper. And the Phillies are the Phillies. 2-2 pitch. There it is, BB. You called it. Pollock. Sack fly to Pollock, right on the money. That's how you win World Series championships. Robbie Ray does it again. Still scoreless at Chase.
Welcome back to Chase Field as Matt Harvey gets the nod for the Mets in his first season back in action after undergoing Tommy John surgery in 2013. Tommy John surgery becoming quite the unwanted trend for pitchers nowadays. The D-backs have their own crew battling back from the procedure. Patrick Corbett venturing out for from extended spring outings to make a minor league appearance early next week. He told me he's trying to be patient in an effort to come back 100% healthy. Meanwhile, his rehab partner in crime, David Hernandez, tweeted today he was happy to be back in Arizona after a couple stints in Double-A. He has 6 scoreless rehab innings under his belt and bronze in a row, back on the field this past week, throwing a couple bullpens at Chase Field. He told me the hardest part about the procedure is now getting used to that extra ligament in his arm. He said it used to just be such a natural action out there, and now they feel that muscle working.
David Peralta, 264 and 5 homers, leads off the second against Matt Harvey. Puts it up in the air to Mayberry and right. Yeah, the Mets have begun a new 6-man rotation, with each pitcher throwing on 1 extra day of rest. They have some very young pitchers in Noah Syndergaard and last year's Rookie of the Year Jacob deGrom. They have some guys coming off injuries like Harvey and Dylan G. Bartolo Colon is 42 years old, allegedly. So they are trying to be very cautious about their starting pitchers. And Harvey was asked about this last week. He said, look, it's a situation the Mets feel is necessary right now, as Chris Owing steps in. So in his mind, the starting staff wouldn't be doing their jobs if they started worrying about it, but it is a little unusual for everybody. CO at 247 and 2 homers. And the Mets are trying to avoid having to place innings limits on young pitchers or having to shut them down in season altogether with this new 6-man rotation. And they figure it'll cut about 4 starts from some of the pitchers' workloads. And Harvey has said the key with the added rest now is to try and figure out a way to stay sharp. And he's been told by the Mets that if it shows it's not working, they'll figure something else out. As Owens pops this one up. And it's in the seats. But for the moment, they are going with a 6-man rotation. Your thoughts, BB?
Well, I think given the circumstances that the Mets find themselves in right now with all the young arms and, as you said, trying to protect some guys from injury, trying to ease guys back in after injuries, I think it's probably the right thing to do. But anytime you go away from the norm, it takes a while to find the right rhythm. When do you throw your side session? When do you play long toss? When do you throw off flat ground between starts in order to be at your best for your next start?
Wilmer Flores.
One thing we know for sure, when the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. The day after every D-backs win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Enter promo code D-backs50 at papajohns.com. I mean, I imagine a lot of teams went through the same thing when they went from a 4-man rotation to a 5-man.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, how do you figure out your workload between starts so that you're ready to go next time it's your turn? And we pretty well figured it out. Well, I guess going from 5-man to a 6-man will involve some adjustment.
It's always an evolution. 0-1 to Jared Saltalamacchia getting the start behind the plate tonight. Wellington Castillo, the new catcher, is here from the Mariners. Mark Trumbo is in the Seattle lineup tonight. GM Dave Stewart will join us in the next inning and talk about the big moves both yesterday and today with Archie Bradley on the DL and Robbie Ray here. Dominic Leone and Wellington Castillo are here. A couple of promising minor leaguers added to the Diamondbacks system as well. Archie Bradley on the DL and Robbie Ray up from Reno. 2-2. So next inning, GM Dave Stewart with us in the booth, and we'll talk trades. Two balls, 2 strikes to Salty. By the way, there was a late change in that Mariner lineup. Logan Morrison with a back issue, and Trumbo's at first base, and Salty's got his first Diamondback homer right into the pool area. Gerald Saltalamacchia, and it's 1-0 D-backs. He He's always had good power at the catching position. That's one thing that he excels at. He has got some real pop in that bat.
Especially from the left side of the plate. It looked like a hanging changeup that time from Harvey. Left it up and out over the plate. Saltalamacchia gets that extension, and it's a line drive home run out into the RampTrucks.com pool area.
So an early lead for the D-backs against Matt Harvey. And here's Nick Ahmed, the shortstop. Mentioned that there was a late change in that Mariner lineup for Trumbo's debut. He's playing first base for the Mariners tonight. They are hosting Tampa Bay at Safeco Field. They'll be there later this year. Ahmed batting .221 with 3 homers. He did not go. That's Alan Porter down there at first, and it's a ball and a strike. Nick drew a key walk and scored a run late in the ball game yesterday, part of that big comeback win against Atlanta. Rocking the purple on Throwback Thursday. Purple all over the ballpark. Trying to bunt for a base hit. Milwaukee, though, is on it and throws him out. But Jared Saltalamacchia, it's his second home run of the season and his first as a Diamondback. The D-backs have a 1-0 lead. CenturyLink, your link to what's next coming up. The GM joins us in the booth. Six players, the Diamondbacks and the Mariners, and joining us in our broadcast booth here is GM Dave Stewart to talk about Mark Trumbo, who is now in Seattle, and the players that have joined the Diamondbacks. Stu, thanks for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Why the move to trade Mark Trumbo and bring in Leon and Castillo?
Well, we weren't expecting Tuffy to go down, and that put us in a little bit of a situation with our catching, and that really triggered it all.
Daniel Murphy leads off the Met third. So moving forward, do you see, at least for the time being, Saltalamacchia and Castillo behind the plate, and then just sort of see how that goes?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the combination of the two, and we'll figure the rest out as we get to. The question has been asked about Oscar Hernandez, and we still got a little time, so we'll figure it out once we get to that part of it.
Any idea how far Oscar might be away?
We're expecting him no later than right around the 4th of July.
Okay. At this level, is he going to rehab up until then? Or?
By then, he will have rehabbed. Gotcha. His first day back should be right in that neighborhood.
Robbie Ray ahead 0-2. Was it tough to move Mark? There were big expectations for him. You were adamant all winter long about, look, we're going to hold on to Mark Trumbo. He's a piece of what we need to do here.
Well, I'm a very, very big Mark Trumbo fan, not just as a player, but as a human being and a person.
Nick Alman.
And in the off season we had some conversation, and this spring training we talked quite a bit, and actually developed a little bit more of a personal relationship. So it was tough to move him for me. It's a really, really difficult move.
Had there been interest from Seattle or other clubs in Mark Trumbo prior to yesterday?
Seattle had talked about him a little bit this past winter, and then in the spring, and then it was a little bit quiet. And I mean, a guy that has that type of power in his bat, there's always going to be interest.
Sure. Michael Kadire.
And in related news, more transactions. Archie Bradley going on the disabled list today, and Robbie Ray tap dancing his way through those first 2 innings with some traffic on the bases. What can you tell us about Archie and the prognosis for that shoulder?
He's got tendonitis in the shoulder, and we're treating him as we should. He's one of our young big prospects, and he's a big part of our future. And the one thing that we don't want to do is jeopardize him being able to come back here and pitch well for us this year and even and moving forward. So we put him on the disabled list.
And Robbie Ray really showed well in his first outing at the big league level. Game 2 of that doubleheader in Colorado against a pretty good offensive lineup. He really pitched well.
Well, I mean, he's got power stuff, and with his kind of stuff, being able to pitch inside on right-handers, and his breaking ball came along this spring training along with his changeup. He's capable of getting anybody out if he throws the ball across the plate.
Stu, do you think some of Archie's struggles may have had to do with that tendonitis? How long had he had that condition, or is that something that just popped up?
We weren't aware of it. He wasn't spending much time in the trainer's room. So as far as we know, it was an injury that developed after his last start.
Gotcha. 3-2 to Michael Kadire here. Lucas Duda on deck. What can you tell us about Dominic Leone? It seems like he got a really young power arm for the back end of that bullpen. I heard great things about this kid from the Mariner people.
Well, we still look at him in the prospect stage too. He got to the big leagues last year from A-ball, and excuse me, coming from A-ball, he had a great year last year for the Mariners.
Well, Robbie Ray rolling along. He's got 4 strikeouts.
And this year he had only pitched in 10 games. And 2 of those games were tough outings for him. And so, we figured we were getting a power arm, but also a young prospect, a guy that we've got some control for the next 4 or 5 years. And he'll be a compliment to the other guys that we have in our bullpen.
Nuno's a tough loss, too, because, boy, we've learned up here and very quickly how valuable he's been. It cannot have been easy to give up him because he's already bailed us out a few times.
Well, he was not. And truth be told, if Archie was going to go down, he probably would have been the guy to step into his spot in the rotation. He was pitching well at AAA, and then the games he's pitched for us in relief, as you said, they were lifesavers. He's come in for us in some difficult situations, saved our bullpen in his first outing, and he's just thrown really well for us.
Well, the draft is coming up Monday. I guess for you it never ends. It's almost time to make that first overall selection. Does the organization feel it knows who it's going to take, or is there still some debate back there?
We spent the first week actually looking at the guys that are in the lower rounds, and there are a lot of star players that are found in the lower rounds, and so we've concentrated our efforts on the players that we're going to take probably after the first round. Looking at those guys in the lower rounds after 10 actually.
That's where you really find some
talent. That's where you're going to find the talent, and so these next 3 or 4 days.
Duda slaps it the other way. And he will take the turn and head for second. Peralta's got it in the corner, and Lucas Duda has his 17th double. He's one of the major league leaders.
So these next 3 or 4 days up until Sunday, we're going to really concentrate on the top 8 or 9 players. We feel the top 8 or 9 players in the country.
Well, here's the list, at least top 10 according to Baseball America, and everybody has a different version of this. But I know you can't tell us who you're going to take. Still top secret. If you want to put it out there right now, feel free.
I mean, we've got all those same guys. We're looking at all those same guys. But, you know, I don't know that we're going to really have it rounded out until probably, I hope, late Saturday, and definitely not Monday morning.
Wilmer Flores up and in from Robbie Ray, who lost his footing a bit there on that one.
Stu, any concern whatsoever in the draft that Gonzo might mess it up?
I'd be terrified if I were you.
I'm hoping he doesn't mess it up.
Don't do it, Stu. Find something for him to do that day.
I'm hoping he doesn't mess it up.
Is there any concern or any philosophy, high school player versus college player? Is it let's just get a pitcher, let's take the best athlete available? Is there a general overall philosophy?
Well, the philosophy has been if you've got a player and a pitcher that are equal in talent and ability, normally you go with the player. That's been.
Wilmer Flores sends Inciarte to the track.
That's been how we've done it in the past.
Well, hey, thanks for doing this, and best of luck Monday. We're rooting for you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you.
Returns as the Rangers take on the Royals. Then it's baseball night in America when the Angels square off against the New York Yankees. Coverage begins at 10:30 in the morning on your home for baseball every Saturday. Fox and Fox Sports 1. Robbie Ray, the pitcher, leads off the Diamondback third. Great change here between the innings. Eric Campbell is taken over at third base, replacing Daniel Murphy. So we'll try and find out what the deal is with that. So Campbell in at third, Murphy out of the ball game, and 0-2 on Ray. Diamondbacks lead at 1-0. Jared Saltalamacchia, a solo homer in the second, and Ray strikes out. First strikeout for Harvey.
Defensive change for New York.
Here's our T-Mobile game-changing players. It's the top of the Diamondback lineup, and these guys, BB, are rolling.
And they have changed some ball games, no question about it. Goldie with his 66 hits, AJ was 64, and Ender Inciarte was 60. Second most hits by a trio in the majors. Only the Marlins have a higher number of hits from their best 3 hitters.
And here is the leadoff man, Ender Inciarte. Pollock on deck, Goldie behind him. Ender flying out to center his first time up, and he bangs it into right, a base hit. And here we go again with the top 3 in the Diamondback order.
Some chance on that first pitch fastball, middle of the plate, rips it into right field for a 1-out base hit.
A.J. Pollock singled his first time up. Boy, is he on a tear right now. He's up to 322 for the year. He's homered in his last 2 games. Ender 8 for 12 in his stolen base attempts this year down there with first base coach Dave McKay. Pollock last 15 games hitting over 400. That includes 4 homers, 10 RBIs, and 7 stolen bases. So it doesn't end when AJ gets on base. He is off and running. Ender almost started towards second base. Did that little crow hop deal. Took a couple of steps and then changed his mind.
Yeah, Diamondbacks second only to the Cincinnati Reds in the National League in stolen bases. And I would expect them to keep their foot on the gas in this series.
Got caught leaning toward the second base bag on the previous pitch. Harvey does not throw over. And AJ's ahead. 2 balls and no strikes. This was the previous pitch.
Yeah, we've seen the Diamondbacks do that a number of times this year. Just time that delivery, take off for second base while the pitcher's still standing there in the stretch position. It's worked successfully quite a few times.
AJ ahead 2-0. Inciarte holds. That's in there at 96, 2-1.
I just love to watch a hitter with confidence at the plate. That was a 2-0 strike. AJ knew it was a strike, but it wasn't the strike he was looking for. When you're locked in, you might take 2 strikes in an at bat if it's not the pitch you're looking for, because you've got enough confidence to get a base hit with 2 strikes.
Now Harvey's really putting himself in a jam here. He's behind on Pollock, 3 balls and 1 strike. He's already got 1 base runner aboard at Inciarte, and he's got Goldie on deck. A tight left quad, the Mets say, for Daniel Murphy, so he is out of the ball game, and Eric Campbell is the new third baseman. 3-1 to Pollock.
The other side of that coin is when you're not confident at the plate, when you're not seeing the ball well, you tend to swing at anything close to the strike zone. Sometimes not even pitches that are close to the strike zone. Find yourself in an 0-2 hole and get nervous about hitting with 2 strikes.
Three-2 pitch. Ender holds it first. AJ just does get a piece of it. And Harvey has had some very sexy strikeout numbers. He can be as dominant as anybody. And without a win his last 5 starts, the Mets have scored a total of 9 runs in his last 5 starts. Winless over that stretch, and the Mets have won just 1 of those 5 games. It was a 2-1 win over the Cardinals when Harvey worked 8 scoreless and had 9 strikeouts. Inciarte takes off, and Pollock perfectly executed, knocks it into right. Inciarte's in at third, and here comes Goldie. Textbook.
Probably not a legitimate hit and run from the bench, but A.J. Pollock knows that Inciarte is going to be on the move. He gets a fastball out there on the outside corner, and he just absolutely hits it right through the hole where Tejada was.
Diamondbacks with the foot on the gas. 1 out there on the corners for Goldie, who walked his first time. Inciarte at third, Pollock at first. Ball 1.
We talked about the lack of run support for Harvey. He's also stumbled a little bit over his last couple starts. His first 8 starts this season, he allowed only 12 runs. In his last 2 starts plus tonight, he's allowed 12 runs.
Yeah, Harvey coming off a loss his last time out. That was Friday against Miami at Citi Field. 8 innings, 11 strikeouts, and only 1 walk. But he did allow 4 runs on 6 hits and lost 4-3. He goes deep into ball games, though. 5th time in his last 7 starts, he's pitched at least 7 full innings.
Coming in with a fastball here.
Popped it up near the Met dugout, but drifting in the seats. 1-2. Yeah, there had been some concern about Matt Harvey going through a bit of a dead arm phase after back-to-back 9 strikeout games in the middle of May. Beaten at Pittsburgh 2 starts ago, lasted only 4 innings, gave up 7 runs on 6 hits, including a pair of homers. By far the worst start of the year for him, but the dead arm fears were alleviated when he struck out a season-high 11 Marlins last Friday. And he punches out Goldie there with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. 2 down.
Yasmani Tomas making his way to the plate. Let's take a look at our Lowe's never stop improving player. During that 11-game hit streak, averaging well over 400 with 6 extra base hits. He's driven in 9. His OPS over 1,000. Need a big knock right here.
2 on and 2 out. AJ back safely at first. Tomas, last 18 games, hitting .373 with 13 RBIs. Trying to pad that 1-0 lead with 2 down. That's in there first round.
And with Goldie at the plate, AJ was not going to abandon first base, try to steal second, because if he makes it, they just either pitch around or intentionally walk Goldie again. So he dropped anchor over there during Goldie's at bat. If he can get a jump, I expect him to run here during the course of the Tomas at bat.
Test that rookie catcher back there, Milwaukee. But Tomas chases that when he's down, no balls and 2 strikes.
And now it becomes a little more dangerous. A 0-2 count on Tomas. You could pitch out twice right now if you're Terry Collins, if you think Pollock is going to be running. On the season has thrown out 4 runners in 18 attempts. That's 22% caught stealing percentage.
And you see Lagares in center field over near the pool. All kinds of room in left center field for Yasmani. Pollock holds it first. Tomas knocks it in the seats one more time. Harvey humping it up there at 97. Yasmani hanging in. Got him. 3rd strikeout for Harvey. All 3 Ks in this inning, and through 3, the D-backs lead the Mets 1-0.
Saturday's game against these Mets. It's a bobblehead night here at Chase Field. The first 20,000 fans get this Tony La Russa bobblehead courtesy of Chevrolet. Get your tickets right now at tbacks.com. The chief baseball officer has got his bobblehead shirt on right there, the same outfit. I love it when a plan comes together. Fourth inning, Diamondbacks lead the Mets 1-0. Jared Saltalamacchia, a solo homer. Robbie Ray in there tonight for Archie Bradley. If you're just joining us, Archie placed on the 15-day DL with right shoulder tendonitis this morning, and Robbie Ray called up from AAA Reno. Some Lolo's Chicken and Waffles here at the ballpark. Out there in left center field. Mayberry doubled his first time up. And Mayberry has not hit much for the Mets this year. They did have a plan for him when they signed him to a one-year deal last December. He'd get some starts against left-hand pitching like he is tonight. And Curtis Granderson or Lucas Duda would sit. Tonight it's Granderson. 1-2.
He likes a challenge.
And 2 on, nobody out in the first and second, and escape both times. Throwback Thursday. The purple and teal are everywhere. Some great purple moments on the scoreboard between innings here on the DBTV board at Chase Field.
Robbie Ray wearing number 38 for Schilling's old number.
2-2.
You watch Mayberry and his approach at the plate. It's not unusual to see guys stride early and make sure they get that front foot down, but watch how overly extended his his left leg is rather when he steps out there. A lot of moving parts.
Mayberry played at Stanford. Rangers took him with a first-round pick in '05. He's been around a few times. And a problem for the Diamondbacks when he was with the Phillies.
It would seem he'd be susceptible to off-speed pitches, especially those on the outer third of the plate, on the outside corner of the plate. He commits so early with that front foot, getting it down, making sure he gets it down. That's so he can turn on a fastball. I think he'd be susceptible to change-ups away.
Ninth pitch of the at-bat. And he's driving Robbie Ray's pitch count up. This is what you're looking for if you're Terry Collins from your leadoff hitter in the inning. 6 foul balls in this at-bat.
Change-up.
Roller to short. Ahmed. Is that the thing, Bob, that separates pitchers at this level? When you have 2 strikes on a guy, you have something in your repertoire that you know is a put-away pitch, something that will prevent that 9 and 10 pitch at bat.
Yeah, the good ones always seem to have at least 1, if not 2 or 3 put-away pitches. When they get a guy to 2 strikes, you don't see those lengthy at-bats. 6 or 7 foul balls, running that pitch count up, forcing the manager to get in the bullpen earlier than he'd like. Sometimes it's a matter of command of the pitches that you have, and other times it's just a fact that your breaking ball's not quite sharp enough, your changeup's not quite enough off of your fastball.
0-1 to Juan Lagares, who singled his first time, the center fielder. Mets so far with 5 hits against Robbie Ray, but he's got 4 strikeouts and a 1-0 lead. Juan Lagares' bat, if it's ever going to catch up to his Gold Glove, still has to fix his biggest flaw at the plate, and that is a consistent tendency to chase pitches outside the strike zone. It's been an ongoing problem. Reaches down and knocks that into 6.
Terry Collins says they have got to try and rein Lagares back and just make sure he gets better pitches to hit. That chase rate is way up there. It's 35%. Bouncer to short. On there. 2 ground ball outs in the 4th for Robbie Ray.
Hey fans, anytime the D-backs score 5 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
Bank shot. Coors Light strike zone here behind right center field, right above the swimming pool area here at the ballpark. Full house in there tonight. Why not? The Mets in town for the first of 4. Robbie Ray and Matt Harvey. Robbie Ray's development, remember he's only 23, has been about the search for a consistent breaking ball. He's always had really good velocity with that fastball and a promising changeup, but they have looked and worked on a slider. And he's really brought that pitch along nicely. Two and one. Tomas in front of Ahmed. 3 ground ball outs and a 1, 2, 3, 4th for Robbie Ray. And now the Diamondbacks will take another crack at the Dark Knights. Evil lurks in Gotham. The Diamondbacks. So game against the Marlins, he had 3 strikeouts in that last inning, the bottom of the 3rd. He got Robbie Ray, then singles by Inciarte and Pollock put runners in the corners, and then he punched out Goldie and Tomas to get out of the inning. The Dark Knight.
I'm Batman. The password is Batman.
David Peralta, Chris Owings, and Jared Saltalamacchia 5, 6, and 7 in the Arizona 4th. Bob, as you talked about, Harvey, when he was blowing guys away 2 years ago, pre-Tommy John, nothing but fastballs and sliders this year. Mixing things up, not relying on the power all the time. More curveballs, more changeups, and they're pleased with that. Terry Collins says Harvey's really developed a great changeup.
I think the slider is probably the pitch that would irritate a Tommy John recipient more than anything else, and that used to be his go-to pitch other than the fastball. But in a strange way, the Tommy John surgery made him a more complete pitcher because he's incorporating his other pitches now.
There you go. Curveball 14% of the time. Change up about 12%. That's a big change for him. He did not go. That's Jeff Kellogg, the crew chief, down at third. So it's 2-2 on Peralta. David flat out his first time up. Mets do not shift defensively against David. Play him straight away for the most part. And it's another strikeout, a 97-mile-an-hour heater from Harvey. Then that's his fourth. He has struck out the last 3 Diamondbacks: Goldschmidt, Tomas, and Peralta, all in a row.
Chris Owings.
Just below the belt, inside part of the plate. A little too much giddy up that time for David Peralta.
Chris Owings grounded out his first time up. CO picking up the pace at the plate once again. Nice play by Ron Pennington down there. Ever since he sat out those 2 games in St. Louis, after going through that 0 for 18 stretch, he's hit safely now in 7 straight. But behind, no balls and 2 strikes. And Harvey has struck out 4 straight Diamondbacks.
Well, we have a moment here. Let's take a look at our Geico This Day in Major League Baseball history, with an emphasis on the Purple Vault. We'll go back to June 4th, 2009, when the big boy Randy Johnson pitches 6 innings in a 5-1 win over the Nationals. That was for the San Francisco Giants, of course, becoming the 24th pitcher in Major League Baseball history to get to the 300 win mark.
Mets do put the shift on for Jared Saltalamacchia, who looks at strike 1. Matt Harvey has now struck out 4 in a row, and 5 of the last 7 he's faced. 1-1 on Salty. That one misses at 98. Saltalamacchia has driven in the game's only run so far, a solo homer. Just shy of the pool in right center, his second of the year, and his first as a Diamondback. Harvey a little too amped up out there, kind of rushing things a bit here. 98, here it is, hit it. He did in the second. Still 2-2. Boy, Salty, after the 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts in his D-backs debut at Milwaukee, has now hit safely in 4 straight. And Matt Harvey strikes out the side. He has struck out 5 straight Diamondbacks and 6 of the last 8. But the D-backs hold a 1-0 win.
Ray and Matt Harvey lighten up the radar guns here. Harvey has struck out the last 5 he's faced. Ray tonight has 4 strikeouts, and he's pitched out of big jams in both the first and second innings.
2 on, nobody out in the first, 2 on, nobody out in the second. Was able to escape damage both those times. Gave up a 2-out double in the third and a 1-2-3 fourth. So far, so good for Robbie Ray.
He has retired the last 4 he's faced. A little more efficient in the last inning with 3 ground ball outs, and he throws strike 1 to Matt Harvey. Harvey, Tejada, and Campbell 9-1-2 with the Met 5th. By the way, the Met record, now that Harvey has struck out 5 straight D-backs, is 10 in a row. 10 straight strikeouts. That's also the major league record. Tom Terrific did that as a Met against the Padres. So we'll keep an eye on that, as Harvey will face the bottom of the order in the Arizona 5th. Throwback Thursday here at the ballpark. The purple and teal is everywhere. Well, the pitch count is higher than you'd like with Robbie to this point, but a lot of these Met hitters have battled. He certainly has not been wild. He has no walks so far. Well, this is another start, Bob, where he looks like a really promising young left-hander, and you can see why they went out and got him.
Yeah, lefties that can throw mid to upper 90s, especially if they can consistently find the strike zone, which, as you mentioned, was a problem for Robbie in the past, but so far in his previous start against the Rockies and here tonight against the Mets, he's been right around that strike zone all night long.
Yeah, it really personifies what the Diamondbacks said they were looking for this offseason. A young power guy, 23, good size out there, 6'2", 195. And some real zip on the ball. Consistent mid-90s from the left-hand side. Don't see that a lot. Young, controllable power arms, high upside guys. That's been the MO. They got another one yesterday in Dominic Leone from the Mariners in the Trumbo deal. Oh, good at bat here by Harvey, and he sends it out deep to right center. Ender Inciarte runs it down. And that is going to be, let's be fair, one of the changes we're going to see with this new outfield makeup here. I'm not sure that ball is caught before.
I don't think so. I mean, Ender Inciarte was playing shallow and toward the right field line with the pitcher at the plate against a hard throwing pitcher. He had a long way to go to catch up to that ball and ran it down easily right before the warning track.
5 in a row now set down by Robbie Ray. Good at bat there by Matt Harvey. And here's the leadoff man, Ruben Tejada. The second baseman singled in the first. He's 1 for 2. Back with you tomorrow for game 2 of this 4-game set. Diamondback Live pregame show at 6 o'clock on Fox Sports Arizona. Jeremy Hellickson for the Diamondbacks and the lefty Jonathan Neese for the Mets. Here's Helly rocking the purple. That's in the seats. Sat with Jeremy's family on the Saturday game. That was a national televised game. It's Miller Park, Milwaukee. A bunch of them drove down from Iowa, and they said every time that he's on TV, Jeremy, they all get together. Sometimes they have 30 people, sometimes 80, they told me, but they get together in Iowa there and they watch the Diamondbacks and they watch their guy Jeremy Hellickson. And so they'll all be tuned in tomorrow night for sure.
That's how we expand our fan base. You get the Hellickson clan involved watching the game, and some of the neighbors come over. And, hey, what are you guys doing? Hey, we're watching the Diamondbacks. Oh, really? Before you know it, it's spread from coast to coast.
Well, we're big in Des Moines right now, I can tell you that. At least every 5th day. Another case of a Met hitter just
getting Robbie Ray's pitch count up there. This might be it for him here. There's some stirring in the bullpen with him knocking on the door of 100 pitches.
This spot is due up second in the bottom half of the 5th inning. Approaching 100 pitches now, up to 97 in the ball game. You'd have to think this is probably going to be it for Robbie.
You can always tell when something's up when Mark Reed gets out of his chair.
When he turns his hat around, you know it's time to get busy.
When the Reader's on his feet, somebody's going to start throwing. 2-2 to Tejada. It's full. Dominic Leone, acquired yesterday from the Seattle Mariners. Another young power arm. We'll be excited to see him throw. Well, Ray loses Tejada, 1-out walk. First walk issued tonight by Robbie Ray.
Well, on Throwback Thursday here, we were talking about hard-throwing lefties. Everybody knows the #1 hard-throwing lefty in Diamondbacks history, the big unit. He had trouble against some Mets in his career, but not so on August 5th, 2002. Struck out the first 6 batters in the game, and nobody came close to hitting the baseball. What's that last one? Joe McEwing was actually a huge nemesis for RJ. He was one of those guys that always seemed to get a couple of knocks and was always in the lineup against Randy. He didn't like people talking about it, though, Joe McEwing. He didn't want to be known as the guy that beats up on Randy Johnson, because at some point in the future he was going to wear one in the ribs, so he didn't like people talking about that.
Dominic Leone warming up. Robbie Ray at 100 pitches, 68 strikes. 1-0 to Eric Campbell, who checked into the game at third for Daniel Murphy. Murphy had to leave earlier tonight with tightness in his left quadricep muscle. And so Campbell's up there hitting a .176 for the year. And this guy right now is stuck in a nightmarish 0 for 24 with 11 strikeouts. That's some debris on the field down by the Diamondback bullpen. And you can see Dominic Leone warming up down there. 23-year-old right-hander acquired yesterday from the Mariners in the Mark Trumbo deal. One. High fly ball, left center field, Peralta. For the Diamondback corner outfielders ranging far and wide in the gaps here tonight.
Fielder Michael Kadai.
David had a little trouble early in the ball game. Actually, wind blew the ball away from him. I think it's died down considerably since the game initially started. You see David with his hand out, feeling for that outfield wall. Never took his eye off the ball. Big out.
And now with 2 down and Tejada still at first, Robbie Ray will work to Michael Kadire, who has struck out twice. He's been striking out a lot more lately than we've seen him in the past, as we mentioned earlier. Robbie trying to get through 5 clean innings here. One. Kadire's hit safely in 8 straight. He was not in the Mets lineup yesterday at San Diego. Had some neck stiffness. Something that pops up with Kadire from time to time. Back out there in left field tonight. That's in the seats, and Rays ahead 1-2. And Kadire has played almost exclusively in left field for the Mets this year.
How about this for Robbie Ray? He's up to 105 pitches in this ball game. He's thrown 33 foul balls. Oh man,
what do you make of that?
I mean, he's around the zone, no question about that, but just
base hit into center.
That's just able to get a piece and stay alive in some of the at-bats. Maybe if he'd scoot some of those fastballs just a little bit higher when he gets to a 2-strike count, or just a little bit farther off the corner when he gets to a 2-strike count. Boy, this is close. Man.
Yikes. So Kadire extends his hit streak, make it 9 in a row. Mike Harkey out to the mound now. You want to get Robbie through this inning without having to bring in anybody to end the 5th, but that pitch count is getting up there. Well, here's the left-hander Duda. Dominic Leone apparently getting ready for his D-backs debut. The question right now is, will it be in this 5th or in the 6th? And Duda, as we mentioned earlier, used to be a pushover against left-hand pitchers. Well, those days are over. He's been crushing lefties this year. He's got Hada at second, Kadire at first. 2 outs for Duda, who doubled his last time up. He's 1 for 2. Struck out against Ray back in the 1st.
And so far tonight in the ball game, with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, the Mets are 0 for 3 on the season. They're batting .192 as a unit in this situation.
Look at that number right there. Duda .360 versus left-hand pitchers this year. That's in there for strike 1. Well, Robbie stranded 2 in the 1st with no outs. 2 in the 2nd with no outs. 2 on, 2 out here in the 5th. Walking that high wire one more time. 0-2.
They just beat him with a fastball right there at 95.
Duda hot lately, hitting nearly .320 since early May. He has homered 6 times in his last 11 games. Mets have out hit the Diamondbacks 6-4, but they've stranded 5. That one misses away. It's 1-2.
A lot of fastballs in this sequence to Duda. He struck him out back in that 1st inning on all sliders.
In the air, right center. Pollock. And Robbie Ray does it again. He leaves 2 Met base runners and keeps it a 1-0 ball game. America's birthday on the 4th of July. Enjoy the D-backs Rockies game, then stick around after the ball game for our post-game fireworks spectacular presented by Gila River Casinos. Buy your 4th of July tickets right now at dbacks.com. Chip Hale speaking with Jeff Kellogg, the crew chief, and Brian O'Nora, the plate umpire.
Not sure what it's about. Seems to be a cordial conversation. Both Jeff Kellogg and Chip Hale have a smile on their face at one point, but obviously something Chip wants to get cleared up before we move forward.
Yeah, Harvey's out there ready to go. Nick Ahmed set to step in, and we had to put everything on hold there. You don't want to keep the Dark Knight waiting. Notice no one sitting near that guy. So Ahmed will lead off the fifth. Matt Harvey, boy, he has been Batman here tonight. He has struck out the last 5 Diamondbacks he's faced and 6 of the last 8. And Ahmed leads off the fifth. Pitcher spot is due up next, and Jordan Pacheco will be the hitter for Robbie Ray. Dominic Leone, the new pitcher acquired yesterday from Seattle, had been warming up in the bullpen. And quickly Ahmed behind 0-2. Harvey has struck out 6 in a row before. That was in June of 2013 versus Atlanta. Ahmed reaches down and rolls it up the middle. Flores. Well, you know, BB, we got a big weekend plan here. I want fans to come out to the ballpark. The Mets are in town. New York, the Diamondbacks, the whole thing. I feel like we really have to get, and backed by popular demand, the new hit segment that's sweeping the country. It's the Ralph Kelso spot-on weather forecast. Ralph, what are we looking at this weekend? Ralph, are you with me, Ralphie?
I am with you.
What are we looking at weather-wise here? We're going to be able to keep things open. What's happening?
Yeah, you might tomorrow. 95 with rain. Of course, it'll rain tomorrow because I had the car wash yesterday. 100 on Saturday and 100 on Sunday. It looks like.
You can live with that.
Not too bad for Phoenix.
The Ralph Kelso spot-on weather forecast. One of the highlights of every homestand. Thank you, Ralph. You can't get that kind of information anywhere else. Here's Jordan Pacheco.
Although Ralph didn't really commit to whether the roof was going to be open or not the rest of the weekend.
You know, that's where the real artistry lies, BB, because he gives you the forecast, but he really doesn't commit either way. It might rain, it might not. We'll see.
I feel very strongly both ways.
Pacheco 3-for-11 as a pinch hitter this year. He's down 0-2. Around a second, Tejada. Well, Harvey was all strikeouts before. Now he's rolling those ground ball outs. 2 quick ones, and here's Ender Inciarte.
7th time in the ball game already that Harvey's had an 0-2 count on a Diamondbacks hitter.
The line on Robbie Ray, another successful start. Pitch count a lot higher than you'd like with all those Met foul balls, but boy, he was terrific. 5 scoreless, 6 hits, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. And a power arm from the left-hand side, consistently mid to upper 90s. Ender singled his last time up. He's 1 for 2. His pitch swinging, pops it up, foul ground third base side. Campbell's under this one. And Matt Harvey has retired 8 in a row. Diamondbacks lead at 1-0. We'll get a look at the new guy, Dominic Leone, when we come in part by your Valley Honda dealer, where you'll get more standard features for less money. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. And by Mix One, great taste, no face, available at local retailers. Well, BB, a new guy and a new catcher. You got to figure some stuff out here, right?
Yeah, what do you throw? Yeah, what do you like to throw when you're ahead in the count? What do you like to throw when you're behind? What's your best off-speed pitch? What does your fastball do? And for Dominic Leone, he throws actually 3 different fastballs, a 4-seamer, a 2-seam sinker, and a cutter to go along with a hard slider. Quick introduction to his catcher.
You bet. That's all you get, right?
Yeah, that's it.
We'll figure this out as we go along. This year with the Mariners, he has a very live arm, Dominic Leone, but has had some command issues in Seattle this year. More walks than strikeouts, but coming off a brilliant season as a rookie last year. He's 23 years old, 5'11", 210. Wilmer Flores is in there. And this is a guy that the Mariners people were very, very high on. He's got the stuff to be a key late inning bullpen arm. He's got closer stuff, in fact. Very high upside and ceiling with Dominic Leone. He can be a critical piece of this bullpen moving forward in Arizona. Flores so far 0 for 2.
Yeah, some people might think, well, is this really fair? The guy just got traded to a new team. He probably hasn't even met all of his teammates yet. And you throw him into a 1-run game against Matt Harvey. But personally, I like this. Get him in there, get him involved, let them feel like they're part of the team right away.
Along the right field line, and Ciarte runs out of room. Well, Dominic Leone put up a strikeout rate last year of better than 25%. He had a fastball that averaged 95. Averaged. And a wicked slider that almost no one ever hit. But this year, just his second season in the big leagues, the walks have gone up, the strikeouts have gone down a bit, and it's really been just about command and mechanics. The arm has really been good. But he's, as Dave Stewart told us, they still consider him a prospect. A very young guy. Flores has a base hit into right. And so Wilmer Flores has now hit safely in 6 straight.
Right fielder, John
Elevated up
Jr.
and out over the plate. Flores didn't try to do too much right there. Just get the barrel on it, put it in place somewhere. He found grass out in right field.
John Mayberry Jr. doubled in the second, 1 for 2. Dominic Leone went through a series of mechanical issues this spring that got him sent to AAA Tacoma just before opening day. Mariners called him back up to the big leagues April 13th. Then he went back to Tacoma in early May. He had gone 0-3 in 8 appearances. Returned May 29th. Had a rough weekend, but had a nice bounce back outing on Monday for Seattle. 2 scoreless innings against the Yankees and looked much better. A 2.78 career ERA in 67 appearances. He's from Norwich, Connecticut. Pitched at Clemson, a 16th round pick in 2012. Two and 1 on Mayberry.
And that's that cutter at 88, 89 miles per hour. Throws it very hard. Looks like a slider. Has a lot of downward movement as it sweeps across there. That one ends up in the dirt. Saltalamacchia just knocks it down with the backhand. A lot more movement on a cutter than you're used to seeing. I mean, that almost looks like a legitimate breaking pitch. That doesn't look like a cut fastball.
Almost like a slider?
Yeah.
Because it's both pitches really lateral movement?
Yeah, the same kind of general movement. Usually the cutter is a little flatter and the slider has a little more downward movement, and the slider will be a little more off speed.
Yeah, this is a guy that throws hard. 2 and 1 to Mayberry. That's in there first round. Diamondbacks are close to getting David Hernandez back soon. Matt Stites is rehabbing right now. Some bullpen help on the way, plus now the addition of Dominic Leone. 2-2 pitch. Base hit. Let's go downstairs to Kate.
Well, guys, Dominic called the last 24 hours crazy. He got to the ballpark today at 3:10 and put on the new uniform, trying to meet his new teammates. And as you guys have been touching on, his different pitches, and really he has a unique repertoire for a reliever. He was a former college starter, and he said he's kept all 5 pitches. He said when he steps on the mound, you can expect a bulldog mentality from him. He most leans on his fastball and the cutter, but he said, you know, if he gets a couple strikes on a guy, he likes to try and fool the hitter with a little deception, bringing in his slider. He said although his numbers have struggled a bit this season, he thinks the key to returning to form like he showed last year is just really knowing his role with the team and getting called upon more than he was being utilized in Seattle. He thinks will be the key to success, and we know the Diamondbacks could use him.
Thank you, Kane. Oliver Perez has started throwing in the Sanderson Ford bullpen. The center fielder Lagares 1 for 2, a single in the second. 2 on, nobody out. Remember, this is a guy, Juan Lagares, who will chase pitches outside the strike zone a lot. You don't have to throw him strikes. Up the middle. Ahmed. Owens. They can't roll the double play. Lagares runs well. They get the force on Mayberry, and Flores is in at third.
Range check for Nick Ahmed. Look how far he goes to get to this ball, keep it out of center field, and at least get the force play at second base. Stopped there by Goldie. Made it a close play over at first, but Lagares appeared to beat the ball.
Kevin Plawecki, the catcher. Flores at third, Lagares at first. 1 away. Don't forget the pitcher spot is next, and Harvey is out there in the long deck circle. Plawecki hitting .202. Getting a little sloppy here behind 2 balls and no strikes.
Kind of an interesting dimension here. You've got a pitcher that's relying on his catcher to call the right pitches because he doesn't know the hitters in this Mets lineup. And Jared Saltalamacchia just got on board not too long ago. Doesn't know what his pitcher really has out there on the mound.
Like a scavenger hunt out there. Baxter putting a whammy on the Met hitters. And Leon having problems throwing strikes. It's 3-0. There's the strike.
Leon has thrown a number of pitches that would be good if he were ahead in the count. Some of those cutters that are just off the outside corner that the Mets hitters are laying off of. If they're behind in the count, they might be more likely to swing at that pitch, but with the count in their favor, they're being a little more selective.
Fly ball center field. A.J. Pollock will have to play it off the wall. That's a fair ball. Flores will score. Lagares right behind. And it's a 2-run double for Kevin Plawecki.
And a 2-1 Mets lead.
Looked like the ball was going to carry that far initially off the bat, but A.J. Pollock goes all the way back to the wall in center field. Fortunately, David Peralta was coming over to back up the play because it hit high off the wall out there in center field. Garza had a good read over there at first base. Could see that ball was going to finish up high on the wall above A.J. Pollock, so he was off to the races and scored easily from first.
That's the 9th Met hit. They've out-hit the Diamondbacks 9-4, but still just a 2-1 ball game. A visit from Mike Harkey now. With the pitcher Harvey up, he's 0 for 2. Well, his last time up, remember, drove one deep into the gap in right center field that was chased down by Ender Inciarte. Base hit for Harvey.
For the first pitch fastball right there. Even with the pitcher at the plate with a runner in scoring position, you've got to pitch those guys like hitters, especially after Harvey's last at bat when he chased Ender Inciarte all the way out to the fence in front of the pool.
Well, Dominic Leone in his D-backs debut has faced 5 Met hitters, the bottom 5 in the order. 4 of them have base hits. Still only 1 out. They're on the corners for Tejada, who has singled and walked.
That's been part of the issue right there. Leone making a 2-strike pitch on the first delivery. Now he's behind the count 1-0.
Almost like you're trying to get the hitter to chase something on the first pitch rather than strike 3.
Right. Early in the count, you have to bite off a little bit more of the strike zone. Then once you get the count in your favor, you can scoot it out there on the corners or scoot it up above the top of the strike zone. But when that hitter has the count in his favor, he's narrowing that strike zone down.
Fly ball to center. Backs A.J. up. Milwaukee will tag, and it's 3-1 New York. An RBI for Tejada.
Third baseman Eric Campbell.
Two down now for Eric Campbell, the third baseman. Checked into the ball game earlier when Daniel Murphy had to leave with a quad strain. Campbell 0 for 1 so far. He flied out. 0 for his last 25. Another fly ball to center field. Long run for A.J. And he runs it down at the warning track. A.J. Pollock. But a rough D-backs debut for Dominic Leone. As the Mets get 3, they take a 3-1 lead.
Getting ready for Diamondbacks Live, our post-game show, and now the Diamondbacks find themselves down 3-1 here. If they want to get something going, they'll have to get past Matt Harvey. He's been excellent.
Yeah, after the Saltalamacchia home run in the second, he's pretty much put into cruise control. Hopefully the Diamondbacks bats can find a way.
Yeah, the starting pitching matchup, a big part of our post-game analysis, and of course, still a lot of game to go. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
Well, you're right, Jody. A lot of game to go here, but Matt Harvey has really been dominant ever since the Saltalamacchia homer in the second. He's retired the last 8 Diamondbacks he's faced. He struck out the side in order in the 4th, and then had a 7-pitch 1-2-3 5th. And A.J. Pollock leads off the 6th and pops up the first pitch. Wilmer Flores. 1 pitch, 1 out, 9 straight set down by Harvey.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in True HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Highlights, live look-ins, a pitch tracking widget, and more. Blackout rules apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
Paul Goldschmidt has walked and struck out. 96 misses upstairs, 1-0 to Goldie. 1 home run shy of tying Matt Williams for 6th on the Diamondbacks all-time list. And 2 shy of 100. Well, at first he's got to get something to hit. It's been a problem lately. Oh, left it out over the plate, and Goldie crushed it. Gone. Paul Goldschmidt, his 16th, and he ties Matt Williams for 6th on the Diamondbacks all-time list.
That's why he rarely gets anything to hit. One of the best fastballs in the game, and Goldie just pulverized it just to the right of straightaway center field, and no doubt.
It's a 3-2 ball game. Solo homers from Saltalamacchia and Goldschmidt, 105 miles an hour. Off the bat, there's strike 1 to Yasmani Tomas, who's 0 for 2. So Goldie now with 99 career homers. Hashtag vote Goldie. Dribbler back to the mound. Harvey whiffs. And Tomas beats it out. He just missed it.
Sometimes a pitcher can be fooled if the ball's not hit as hard as he thought it was, but that was just a whiff on the part of Matt Harvey. Nice, easy bouncer. 2-hopper back to the mound. Routine as it could possibly be. And once it gets behind the pitcher, it's an infield hit for Yasmani Tomas.
Dan Warden, the pitching coach. That from the Diamondbacks here. Leon really struggled in his D-backs debut. He's obviously been through a lot the last couple of days. The Mets put up a 3-spot. Harvey been cruising. 8 straight set down. He struck out the side in the 4th, a 7-pitch 5th, but they come back, get a home run and a base hit here with 1 out, and Peralta's the hitter. Ryan O'Nore out to break this up. How about that? 28 miles an hour.
Well placed, 28.
How do these guys get in front of pitches like that one? He's got a family to think about. 105 off the bat of Goldie.
Yeah, meeting the mound by their pitching coach. I don't think that had anything to do with anything other than trying to slow the momentum here. I mean, the word is out about the Diamondbacks and how they can bounce back in a ball game when you think they're down. I think he just went out there to stall for some time and try to steal some of the momentum back into the first base dugout.
Peralta 0 for 2. And a pair of hits yesterday in the big comeback over Atlanta. Doubled and drove in 2. He's at 260 on the year. It's a good example of Harvey getting back in account with something other than a fastball. Something that's relatively new for him this year. Yikes. 97 just kind of yanked that one 2-1. Good seats right behind the protective netting. Extends all the way out to both dugouts here at Chase Field. Two and two. Don't forget, Harvey is coming off the start at Pittsburgh just 2 starts ago when he lasted only 4 innings. 7 runs, 6 hits, including 2 homers. So he is human. Missed inside at 96, and it's full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Chris Owings is on deck. Boy, it's got to be tough in these spots, Bob, when you know that Harvey's got that 97, 98 in his back pocket, and he's up there throwing curveballs and changeups on 2 strike counts.
Yeah, that's where hitting coaches will tell you against a premier pitcher like Matt Harvey, stay on the fastball. If you can hit his fastest pitch, if your bat is quick enough to hit his fastest pitch, you trust that you can make a quick adjustment to hit anything else. Not always easy.
Oh, fly out to left. Kadier has it. 2 down. Chris Owings 0 for 2. A strikeout victim his last time up.
We've given a bunch of numbers about Matt Harvey. This one kind of jumps out at you. Over the last 100 years, Matt Harvey is one of only 2 starters to allow 1 run or less in 23 of his first 46 starts. The other guy was a Met as well, Doc Gooden.
Both 2 pretty good Met pitchers.
Yeah, 24 out of his first 46 starts for Doc.
Yes, he wins, says Alan Porter. They've had some good ones over the years. And Doc Gooden in the house. You can't go to a Met game and not see a Doc Gooden jersey. Doesn't matter what ballpark it's in. 0-1 on CO. In fact, Doc Gooden was the guy that Bronson Arroyo loved to watch growing up, and Bronson said when he was a kid growing up in Florida, he would watch Doc Gooden, and that's where he got the idea for that high front leg kick he has. He's pitched like that his whole life, but not until he saw Dwight Gooden doing it as a youngster. 0-2. That's in the seats. Yasmani Tomas running on the pitch.
I've told the story before. When I made the 1984 National League All-Star team, I was warming up pitchers in the bullpen, and Doc Gooden was the next National League pitcher to go into the game, and he was just cruising along nice and easy and throwing and throwing and throwing. I'm thinking, geez, this is not what I expected from Doc Gooden. Well, the phone rang and said, okay, he's in there for the next batter, and I mean, he cranked it up a good 10 miles per hour. Threw the first one right by me.
Well, Harvey throws that one right by Chris Owings for his 7th strikeout, but the Diamondbacks get another run back. Paul Goldschmidt, his 16th, and it's 3-2 as we go to the 7th.
April 27, 2003, Brandon Webb, his first career win against the Mets. It was game 1 of a doubleheader. Randy Johnson was coming off the disabled list to start game 2, so his reward for his 7 innings and 10 strikeouts was a trip back to the minor leagues.
It's a tough racket.
Yeah, it is. Hooked up against Hall of Famer Tom Glavine in that game and bettered the Hall of Famer.
Tom Glavine. Here's another left-hander, Oliver Perez, his 26th appearance of the year. He's out there to face the heart of the Met order, Kadire, Duda, Flores, 3, 4, and 5 in the 7th. A 3-2 ball game here. D-backs have solo homers from Saltalamacchia in the 2nd and Goldschmidt in the 6th. Goldie 16th. And Kadire, who singled his last time up, will lead it off. He's hit safely now in 9 straight. Belted to center. A.J. Pollock. Well, A.J. is going to need a rest after this one.
Well, it's not unusual for a center fielder to be busy running side to side, but he's run straight back too many times in this game today. Another nice running catch just in front of the wall out there in straightaway center.
One away for Lucas Duda. We showed you those numbers earlier. Duda, who never hit lefties before this year, crushing lefties this season. He doubled in the 3rd, 1 for 3. Shift is on against Duda. There's strike 1. Funny, it was a big weakness in Lucas Duda's game, so he went to a guy he thought he could help. You know, help me hit against left-hand pitching. I got to fix this. So he went to Keith Hernandez, who's not here on this trip. Ron Darling is working with Gary Cohen just to our left here in the SNY TV booth. But Duda went to Keith, and a great left-hand hitter and the SNY analyst, and said, hey, help me hit lefties. And boy, whatever Keith told him, it worked. He's hitting left-handers at a 360 clip this year. He's got 4 homers off left-hand pitching.
Generally, it starts with that front shoulder and the front hip for a left-handed hitter against a left-handed pitcher. It's just human nature for that front side to open up a little bit early against the lefty, but it looks like Duda's hanging in there pretty good.
Perez strikes him out, 2 down.
Hey fans, we invite you to play Kachinko by signing up at one of the 20 interactive kiosks right here at Chase Field during any Diamondbacks regular season home game.
The shortstop, Wilmer Flores, Met bullpen gets busy. There's a Gil Martin warming up in the Met bullpen. I don't know if Leo Gil Martin is aware. He's got his own duties right now in the radio booth.
Leo's a righty anyway.
That's a good point. Flores singled and scored his last time up, 1 for 3. So he's hit safely in 6 straight. Matt Harvey so far has given up just 2 runs on 6 hits. He has walked 1. He's got 7 strikeouts.
The dark night, not putting on a jacket between innings or a cape or anything. He's sitting in there waiting to go back out to the mound again.
Can you imagine if he put on a cape? People might confuse him for Frank Costanza's attorney. Two. Well, Flores is a guy that they've had coming up in their system for years now. He's always hit, even while they've moved him all over Kingdom Come defensively, but he's back to being a shortstop now. Hit .321 at AAA 2 years ago, .323 for a half season last year. The question is, can he
play shortstop every day in the major leagues. They're still not sure, but they're sticking with him for now. 2-2 pitch. Missed inside, and it's full. Mayberry would be next. Can't have Throwback Thursday without a look back at the jewelry.
It's a nice looking ring.
Yeah, it's like having an ankle weight wrapped around your wrist when you wear that thing. At least that's the way it looks.
It's tasteful. Right?
Oh, it's great. Don't get me wrong.
The Marlins, one of their World Series rings was so big that none of the guys could wear it. It's like a belt buckle. This is big, no question about it. It's gaudy, but it's very wearable.
If it's not functional, then really what's the point? Boy, the Mets tonight lead the league in foul balls. There it is, 2001 champs. Tenth pitch of the at-bat coming up. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Wilmer Flores. Perez working on a 1-2-3-7. A little flare to right center. Pollock is there. Just the second 1-2-3 inning by a D-backs pitcher tonight. They trail the Mets 3-2. Tire Pros. For the best selection of Continental and General brand tires, visit one of the 22 locally owned Arizona Tire Pros locations. Throwback Thursday here at Chase Field. Diamondbacks trail the Mets 3-2 as we start the home half of the 7th. Jared Saltalamacchia against Matt Harvey, who's back out there for the Mets, knocking on the door of 100 pitches. Salty opened up the scoring in the second with his second home run of the year, his first as a Diamondback. And a power surge in May, and it's carried over into June here.
0-2 on Saltalamacchia. And that's a called strike 3. 8 strikeouts for Harvey.
Well, this is indeed a special day. June 4th. Look at all the catchers that were born on this day. Terry Kennedy, Tony Pena, Rick Wilkins, Scott Service. Scott Service was born in La Crosse, Wisconsin, which another catcher named Damian Miller came from La Crosse, Wisconsin. He wasn't born on this day, but the more catchers, the better.
There you go. G-Money.
Joe Laird.
Pitcher spot is up next. Aaron Hill on deck. He would hit for Oliver Perez. Nick Ahmed 0 for 2 so far. And Matt Harvey, used to being in this situation. He has pitched at least 7 full innings 5 times in his last 7 starts. He goes deep into ball games, and that's been the case again tonight. He's given up just 2 runs on 6 hits. He has walked 1. He's got 8 strikeouts.
And a bat by Jared Saltalamacchia, the 9th time in this game that Matt Harvey's gone 0-2 on a Diamondbacks hitter.
Struck out the side in order. In the 4th, he got Peralta, Owings, and Saltalamacchia. At one point, he struck out 5 straight Diamondbacks. And 6 of 8. He's the guy that'll have you talking to yourself. Mark Grace listening in. Fights that one off, but it's foul just down the left field line off the glove of Ron Pennington down there, who recovers nicely. Ron wearing the throwback Golden Glover uniform. That is really, really solid. Terry Finley. Terry's down the right field line. Looks fantastic. Got to get the purple helmets, though. That's the last touch. 100 pitches, 71 strikes for Harvey. Sold.
I'll take one.
Another 2-2. It's full. Aaron Hill on deck. He'll hit for Perez. Got him. 9 strikeouts for Harvey. 2 down. That's 3 in a row.
Fastball right in underneath the hands of Nick Ahmed. Came up empty. Aaron Hill now taking the pinch hit at bat for the pitcher spot. One of the few Diamondbacks that have had a measure of success. 3 for 7 lifetime against Matt Harvey.
Aaron at 240 with 3 homers. He has really had trouble finding consistent at bats lately, and it's had to have affected his hitting. He's in a 4 for 35 right now. .97 misses, and it's 1-0. Misses with a fastball. Drops the breaking ball in there. 1-1. Bounce to Flores. Matt Harvey is through 7 with a 3-2 lead.
The Gig Life high-speed highlights presented by Cox. The Dark Knight, Matt Harvey. Well, he is as advertised here tonight. Robbie Ray, very encouraging. 5 scoreless innings. Dominic Leone had a rough Diamondback debut. A 3-run Mets 6. Diamondbacks as we start the 8th, trailer 3-2. Our Gila River game summary. And the new pitcher for Arizona, their 4th tonight. 21st appearance of the year for Addison Reed, who has really looked good lately.
A completely different guy than we saw at the beginning of the season, not only mechanically, but his command of his fastball and his slide are much improved.
Well, every spot in the Met order tonight has at least 1 hit. For John Mayberry Jr., that was a single his last time up. He also doubled in the second. He's 2 for 3. So Harvey goes 7. For the Diamondbacks, this is their 10th straight game where the starting pitcher has not made it into the 7th inning. And D-backs relievers to this point have thrown 192 innings, the most in the major leagues. 1-2. And that just can't continue. As Chip Hale has said, they've already run Burgos into the ground, and you just got to be careful. You're going to get healthier soon. Hernandez is on the way back. Stites is on the way back. They've added Leone. But this is a pattern that you want to reverse. He did not go, says Alan Porter. It's 2-2.
Vidal Nuno had been a guy out of the bullpen for the D-backs that was eating up multiple innings when those starters were getting knocked out early. Oli Perez had a 3-inning outing just the other day. They've been able to patch it together pretty well, but you just don't want to go much deeper into the season using the bullpen as much as the Diamondbacks have had to.
And Reed goes full on Mayberry to open up the 8th. That is fouled down the left field line. By the way, the Mariners tonight are hosting Tampa Bay. The Rays lead that one at Safeco Field. 2-1 in the 7th inning. Mark Trumbo batting 5th for Seattle and playing first base is 1 for 3 with a single. He has struck out twice. This is going to find a gap in left center. It's off the wall, and Mayberry is having a big night. He hasn't hit all year, but he's 3 for 4 with a pair of doubles.
Center fielder Juan Lagares.
Down and out over the plate, and Mayberry with those long arms gets some extension and splits that gap in left center field right up against the wall.
So the leadoff bat in scoring position in a 1-run game in the 8th. Here's Juan Lagares. Reached on a fielder's choice and scored a run his last time up. He's 1 for 3. Single back in the 2nd. Hole 1. And Worthen, the pitching coach, facing in the dugout. It's Granderson, who was not in the starting lineup against the left-hander Robbie Ray. Looks ready to hit. Lagares is up there now. Plawecki, the catcher, is on deck. Pitcher spot is after that. 1-2 on Juan Lagares, the Gold Glove center fielder. Chopper to Tomas. No chance to get Lagares. Not with his speed. And the first 2 Mets have reached in the 8th against Addison Reed.
Just an AstroTurf hit, banged it off a home plate like a trampoline high in the air to third base. By the time Tomas waited for that ball to come down, he had no shot to get Lagares at first.
And so Plawecki, the catcher, will be the hitter. Granderson comes out of the on-deck circle. And this was Kevin Plawecki against Dominic Leone, a 2-run double in the 6th his last time up. That gave the Mets a 2-1 lead. They added one more on a Tejada sacrifice fly to take a 3-1 advantage. Goldie made it 3-2 with a solo homer in the bottom of the 6th. Mayberry is the runner at second, Lagares at first. Still nobody out. Goldie is cheating in at first. He was in several steps on the grass a moment ago. Shows bunt, pulls back. It's ball 1.
It changes everything when you're going to pinch hit for that pitcher spot. You could use your number 8 hitter to put down a possible sac bunt like they're doing right here with Plawecki. But obviously, if Matt Harvey was going to take the at bat in the next hole, you probably have Plawecki swinging away right here.
The left-hand hitting Curtis Granderson is out there. 1-0 on the Mets catcher. Goldie comes in again. Plawecki squares to bunt, pops it up. And it's 1-1.
Drop the barrel of the bat. Allows you to get underneath that pitch. Even though it was a low pitch, he manages to get underneath it and pop that ball harmlessly into foul territory on the first base side.
Met fans in the house getting a little rowdy down there. Some orange and blue scattered in small pockets around the ballpark here tonight. Reed wants to go through the signs again with Salty. Goldie crashes in from first, pops it back up to the mound, and Reed has it. That's the first out in the 8th. And we'll see Curtis Granderson. Here comes Mike Harkey.
Pinch hit for Matt Harvey, number 3, Curtis Granderson.
You got to be careful with Granderson and that power stroke.
Granderson 6 home runs on the season. 5 have come against right-handed pitching. Only 1 against lefties. He's batting 156 against left-handed pitching. 239 against righties. It's not like he's raking this year, but this is the guy that's really susceptible to a left-handed arm on the mound.
He got off to a painfully slow start this year. He's in there at 225 and 6 homers. Didn't hit much at all during the first month of the season, but last month the power returned. He had 5 homers in May. Slugged 100 points higher than he did in April. 2 on and 1 out in the 8th. Ball 1.
Granderson with really a wide base. How far apart his feet are. He takes up almost the entire left-handed batter's box.
Needs room for those high socks. There's the strike.
Curtis Granderson's second season with the Mets. 20 homers last year, hit .227. 2 balls and a strike. Greenwood. Base hit. They will wave Mayberry. Peralta's throw is offline, and it's 4-2 New York. An RBI single for Curtis Granderson. And the third Mets hit in this inning against Addison Reed.
Aggressive send by Tim Tuffle down there in that third base coach's box. Granderson picks on a low fastball, shoots it into left field. Usually the determining factor is when the outfielder picks up the ball. If the runner is short of third base, you usually hold him. If he is at third base or around it, you go ahead and send him. But this time Tuffle challenged the arm of David Peralta and sends Mayberry on home.
That's the 13th hit for the Mets. They have out-hit the Diamondbacks tonight, 13-6. You can see he hadn't even reached third by the time Peralta had the ball.
Full stride and a half away from the bag. It's usually the time you throw up the stop sign.
So it's Lagares at second, Granderson at first. A run is in. Still only 1 out, and here's the leadoff man, Ruben Tejada. Tejada singled in the first, walked in the 5th, drove in a run with a sacrifice fly his last time up. He has been among their hottest hitters as of late. $14 hits over his last 7 games. Two and one. Diamondbacks in the home half of the 8th will have the top of the order. Inciarte, Pollock, Goldschmidt against the Met bullpen. First of a 4-game set, the D-backs and the Mets, all 4 games for you right here on Fox Sports Arizona. Jeremy Hellickson and Jonathan Neese tomorrow night. Diamondback Live pregame show at 6. Chase Anderson, Bartolo Colon Saturday, Cole Mentor and DeGrom Sunday afternoon. Saturday's game a 7-10 start. 2-2 pitch. Well, the Mets will take any win they can get. They're neck and neck with the Nationals atop the National League East, but they have really scuffled on the road. They were beaten badly last night in San Diego. They've lost 9 of their last 10 road games, 8 and 17 away from Citi Field this year is Terry Collins' crew. But somehow only a half game out the division lead. 2-2 to Tejada. Got him. 2 down.
Addison Reed, 25 pitches in the inning. Gets Tejada to check swing on a slider low and away that time.
Well, Daniel Murphy started the game at third base for the Mets, had to leave with a quad strain. So here's Eric Campbell, who is 0 for 2 so far and 0 for his last 26 at the plate. He's at 172 with a homer. A lot of Connecticut guys in this series. Of course, A.J. Pollock is from Connecticut. Dominic Leone, the new Diamondback pitcher, is from Connecticut. Campbell's from Norwich, Connecticut. Played at Boston College. An 8th round pick out of BC by the Mets in 08. A ball and 2 strikes. Campbell up and down with the Mets this year. He was sent to the minors for 2 weeks in early May. Came back May 16th. He's played 15 games at AAA. Down there he hit .440 with 4 home runs. But up here he's in an 0 for 26 and down a ball and 2 strikes. Of course, the Mets are really struggling to find some consistency at third base. They are without David Wright, who has a spinal condition called stenosis, a narrowing of the spinal cord. They don't know when he's going to be back. They've gone with Tejada over there a bit. They've had Murphy play there. Campbell's played some. Another 1-2.
There's some talk out there that David Wright's career may be over because of that condition you're talking about.
A narrowing of the spinal column, and they just don't know when he'll be back. He did see his teammates. He was in San Diego this week getting some treatment. And Wright insisted he will play again this year, and surgery, at least now, is still not an option. 2-2 pitch. Got him. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Addison Reed. He strands 2, but the Mets get 1 more. And the Diamondbacks, as we go to the bottom of the 8th, trail at 4-2.
Live, presented by CenturyLink, our post-game show, and the bullpen will be a topic, that is for sure, with the Mets getting 4 runs off the D-backs bullpen tonight. But we also want to remind you that tomorrow is all about the bullpen, and Joe Borowski, you're going to be out and about during tomorrow's broadcast.
Oh, it's going to bring back some memories, Jody.
Much insight from Joe. We'll also hear from the D-backs relievers how they prepare. A lot to come tomorrow Our coverage begins at 6, guys.
Baseball in focus tomorrow night. Thanks, guys. Don't forget, Diamondback Live post-game show with Joe and Jody follows our ball game here. New pitcher for the Mets, the left-hander, Sean Gilmartin. And he'll work to the top of the Diamondback order, Inciarte, Pollock, and Goldschmidt. That is Sean Gilmartin, no relation to Leo Gilmartin, who is manning mission control on the radio side there with Tom Candiotti and the governor, Greg Schulte. I don't see a resemblance.
Not even a little bit. Gilmartin was originally a first-round draft pick back in 2011 by the Atlanta Braves. Bounced around a little bit. Was acquired by the Twins in a trade for Ryan Doumit, and was selected by the Mets in the Rule 5 draft in December of 2014.
How about that? A guy who was a first-rounder ends up in a Rule 5 situation. Ender shoots this one out to right center, and it drops in. Ender Inciarte, 2 for 4, leadoff man aboard. And are we in line for another D-back comeback? We've done it the last 2 games against Atlanta. And tonight we begin the first of 4 against the Mets. And here comes Terry Collins. Matt Harvey, long gone now. It's a bullpen battle. Familia and Robles warming up in the Met bullpen. Daniel Hudson is throwing for the Diamondbacks. D-backs in the 8th inning have the tying run at the plate, and A.J. Pollock don't go anywhere. The right-hander Hansel Robles, who's been roughed up a bit since making his big league debut at New York, at Yankee Stadium, in fact, back in April. He's given up 5 runs, 4 earned over his last 5 games.
Fastball slider pitcher. Fastball average velocity right around 96. Throws a hard slider in the high 80s.
Ender Inciarte, a single to lead off the 8th. 4-2, Diamondbacks trail it. And A.J. Pollock is in there with Goldie on deck. Owen's in there at 96. A.J. another 2-hit game yesterday over Atlanta. A double and a homer. He homered in back-to-back games for the first time in his career. This was his home run Tuesday. That turned out to be the game winner. And he's now homered 7 times at .323. This is sky to right along the right field line. Mayberry. 1 away. Well, Goldie is last time up. 6th inning, his 16th of the year, and the 99th home run of Paul Goldschmidt's career. That tied him with Matt Williams for 6th on the Diamondbacks all-time lists. Terry Collins one more time. He likes his right-hander. He just wants a different right-hander. They're bringing in the closer here for what looks like a potential 5-out save. Goldie is at the plate as the tying run. We take a break, back in a moment. Previous attempts, he's got 1 win and 2 saves. He's got a 1.44 ERA, 25 innings and 30 strikeouts. He's tough. Ender Inciarte, a leadoff single in the 8th. A.J. Pollock just flat out, so here's Goldie to face Familia. The tying right at the plate, 1 down. Goldie homered his last time up. Look out, Andy Green.
Goldie hit that home run back in the 6th inning, number 99 in his career. You can see here on his hot zone, the first pitch was up out of the zone. The second one was way wide. And then Matt Harvey came in that down and in territory with a fastball, a hot zone for Goldie. What isn't a hot zone for Goldie? And he whacked it out of here to the right of straightaway center.
0-1. That's in there for a strike. It kicks away from Plawecki, and Inciarte will get a free base. Hit off a piece of equipment out there and almost went into the Met dugout.
Ball shot over to the right side. Yeah, got him up high on the shoulder there and ricocheted way up that first baseline.
Ryan Nora needs some baseballs.
That's kind of a prerequisite. You got to have baseballs to play this game.
Well, with all the foul balls we've seen in this ball game, especially from Terry Collins Mets, I'm surprised we haven't run out. A ball and 2 strikes to Goldie. Salas on deck, Inciarte at second. Ender's going to get third here. Familia getting wild.
is winning the game of keep away with his catcher. This one isn't even close. It's way over on the outside of the left-handed batter's box.
What do you do as the hitter when you see that?
You know, it's so easy to give up. Boy, this guy's got no command, and then the next pitch will be right on the outside corner at the knees. You've got to be ready and assume that every pitch is going to be a hittable strike.
2 balls, 2 strikes, enter at third. He almost did it again. 3-2. Tomas would be next. Got him. Well, you were right. He sprayed it all over the place and then reared back and just fired it in there.
Just center cut right down the middle of the plate, middle of the thighs. A pitch Goldie rarely swings through.
Yasmani Tomas. Had a little tapper back to the mound his last time up that Matt Harvey just missed, and it went as an infield single. He's 1 for 3. Tomas is swinging at the first pitch, it seems, every at bat these days. Up there happy. Two hits and an RBI Tuesday in the win over Atlanta. Had 3 hits and drove in a run yesterday. A ball and a strike.
Hard slider at 90 miles per hour.
Yeah, this guy's filthy. He's given up only 2 earned runs in his last 20 1/3 innings. 24 strikeouts along the way. This is a 98. Familia had 12 saves through the Mets' first 30 games. A record. Nine saves in April, another Mets team record. 2-1 to Tomas. 99, and it's 3 balls and a strike. Peralta on deck. Ender at third after a single and 2 wild pitches. Tomas the tying run at the plate. 3-1. '99 is in there. Well, the problem with those wild pitches was he was just getting warmed up. Now he's really throwing smoke. Misses at 100. And the time runs are aboard for David Peralta. Just the second walk issued by Mets pitching tonight.
Yeah, hopefully David's been doing his homework over there in the on-deck circle. Familia really only commanding the fastball and only doing that from time to time. David's a good fastball hitter, good first ball hitter. 7 for 15 this season with a homer on the first pitch he sees in an at-bat.
Yeah, I kind of like this matchup myself. David has struck out and twice flied out. He's 0 for 3. He's got Inciarte at third, Tomas at first.
Ball one. D-backs trying to keep this winning mojo going. They've won 10 of their last 16. Back to within 2 of 500. 99. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Here comes Dan Warthen. Quick pep talk out here. Diamondback Live post-game show. Joe and Jody follows our ball game. Reaction from the clubhouse. Another close one. A good ball game for you here on Fox Sports Arizona. We have had some really entertaining games this year. I can't think of maybe 2 or 3 that were blowouts either way.
It's a very entertaining team this year. They refuse to believe they're ever out of the ball game. That element of speed this year has been really fun to watch. Guys stealing bases, scoring from first on an extra base hit, scoring from second on just about every hit.
See if he gets a fastball here on 2-0. '97 is in there for a strike. And that's the end of the Diamondback threat. 9th inning on the way. D-backs still trail at 4-2. Jeremy Hellickson on the mound for the Diamondbacks against the left-hander Jonathan Reese for the Mets, the second of a 4-game series. Diamondback Live pregame show on Fox Sports Arizona comes your way at 6 o'clock. Hellickson and Reese tomorrow. Chase Anderson, Bartolo Colon Saturday. That's a 7-10 start. And then Sunday afternoon, Josh Colmenter and last year's Rookie of the Year, Jacob deGrom. Daniel Hudson will pitch the 9th for the Diamondbacks. 19th appearance, a 3.80 ERA. He'll work to the middle of the order. Kadire, Duda, Flores, 3, 4, and 5 in the Met 9th. Diamondbacks have been out hit tonight 13-7. They trail at 4-2, despite the fact the Mets have stranded 10 tonight. Kadire singled in the 5th. He's 1 for 4. Michael Kadire's 15th big league season, last 3 years in Colorado. Won a National League batting title with the Rockies 2 years ago. Prior to that, 11 years in Minnesota. And he's here with the Mets on a 2-year, $21 million free agent deal. Pops it up first base side, Goldie in foul ground.
Let's take a look at our Chaz Roberts cool play of the game. Well, what a great day this was. Joshua Knight. His wish was to be the manager for a day. He is a huge Diamondbacks fan. He watches the 2001 highlight video almost every day. Had a chance to go out and exchange lineup cards with manager Chip Hale. You saw him talking to Goldie before the game. I had an opportunity to sit down with Joshua and talk before the ball game. And what a day for Joshua. We're glad he's here.
A nice job by you to make sure he got that ring too.
Get him a ring. He's big. I mean, he's a big D-backs fan, period, but especially the 0-1 team.
Lucas Duda doubled in the third, 1 for 4. Shift is on for the Diamondbacks. D-backs in the bottom of the 9th will have Owing, Saltalamacchia, and Ahmed 6, 7, and 8. Boy, Huddy's still throwing hard, 98. That velocity's been there for him really since spring training, which has been great to see.
Yeah, it's good to see. It doesn't look forced either. We've talked about this all season long. It's just very natural, fluid delivery. Ball's coming out of his hand real nice. Nice change up right there. I mean, his full arsenal has really come a long way.
We talked a lot about Tommy John surgeries at the start of our broadcast, with Harvey coming off his, Daniel Hudson coming off 2. And he has looked really sharp. Patrick Corbin, David Hernandez, Bronson Arroyo all continuing their comebacks from Tommy John with great success so far. And Huddy strikes out Duda, 2 down. Third time tonight Lucas Duda has struck out. Bronson Arroyo pitched a bullpen at Chase Field here on Tuesday. David Hernandez, they're getting him back-to-back outings. That's really the final step, having him pitch back-to-back at AA Mobile. And Patrick Corbin, 8 strikeouts in 3 2/3 in an extended spring game the other day. And so everybody's progress very encouraging. Here's Wilmer Flores. Way up in the air, but foul.
Pitchers are always messing with their fingernails, you know, calluses on their fingers.
It might be from the guitar.
It could be from picking the guitar, yeah.
0-1.
That's on his left hand. Yeah, that's from fingering the chords on a guitar.
Rocking those power chords. Ooh. Just missed at 97 miles an hour. 2-1. Flores singled and scored in that 3-run Mets 6th. Rolled to short. And you won't see that too often. Error on Nick Ahmed.
The ball was hit hard. Took a last big hop, came up and hit him on the heel of the glove. He tried to cradle it back into his midsection because with his arm he still would have had a chance to make a play, but ricocheted too far away.
Well, here's Big John Mayberry. He's been the big force for the Mets. 3 for 4, including a pair of doubles. And he has not hit it all this year except for tonight. It's his night. 6-2 Mets. point. John Mayberry Jr. came in under $140 for the year. Well, he's got 4 hits, 2 doubles, and a home run.
It just jumps all over this first pitch fastball from Daniel Hudson. Just below the belt, inside part of the plate. He has just been locked in tonight.
And that Ahmed error now looms very large.
Nice play out there by a D-backs fan. Unfortunately, he's on the wrong side of the fence.
Juan Lagares. Lagares has a pair of hits. Chases one out of the zone. Second strikeout for Hudson, but now it's a 6-2 ball game as we head to the home half of the ninth to Chase. Lead 6-2 as he'll face Chris Owings, Jared Saltalamacchia, and Nick Ahmed, and the Diamondback ninth rally caps in place here on Throwback Thursday. And here's C.O.'s 0 for 3. He has struck out the last 2 times up. He's got a 7-game hit streak on the line here. And Chris Owings, 2 strikeouts tonight, both looking. He has never been a patient hitter either in the big leagues or in the minors. He just doesn't walk, which has always been the big knock against his offensive game, despite the fact that he's hit everywhere he's been. And the results speak for themselves, but you'd like to see him more patient up there. The on-base percentage a little higher, more walks. But this year the issue has become a little more exaggerated because CO is chasing more pitches outside the strike zone than ever before. And so you're looking for a mixture of aggressiveness and patience. That's a fine line, I know, but Chris is swinging at 43% of the pitches he sees that are outside the zone. That's by far a career high and a big jump over last year. And that explains the up and down nature, PB, of his season offensively.
No question about it. You don't mind aggressiveness at the plate as long as you're swinging good pitches. And tonight, his last 2 at-bats, a perfect example of what we've seen from CO all year. He was down 0-2 in his last 2 at-bats.
There you go. He's got himself a knock and an 8-game hitting streak. Get yourself a good pitch and hit it.
Late fastball that time. He'll put a nice swing on it. Just did get it over the head of Wilmer Flores into left field for a leadoff base hit here in the bottom of the ninth.
Jared Saltalamacchia. A solo homer in the second. Diamondbacks had a 1-0 lead after 5 innings before the Mets got 3 in the 6th against Dominic Leone, who had a rough time in his D-backs debut. They had a 3-1 lead. Goldie made it 3-2 with a solo homer in the 6th, but then the Mets have tacked on. 1 in the 8th, 2 in the 9th. There goes Owings, and that's fouled out of play.
We don't know if the Diamondbacks will be able to find a way to score 4 or 5 runs here in the bottom half of the 9th inning, but at worst, run up a pitch count on the Mets closer here. He's already thrown 22 pitches. Remember, he came in with 1 out in the 8th inning. Had to throw 16 pitches to get out of the 8th.
Yeah, he struck out Goldie, walked Tomas, and got Peralta to ground out. Now he punches out Saltalamacchia. A 3rd strikeout tonight for Salty. And that's the 1st out in the 9th.
If you can extend that pitch count to the point where he becomes unavailable for tomorrow's ball game, it's a moral victory moving forward.
Nick Ahmed, 0 for 3. And a key error in the 9th inning. So much progress from Nick offensively. Last 20 games, hitting over .330 with 3 home runs. Pitcher spot is next for the Diamondbacks, and Cliff Pennington is in the on-deck circle. He would hit for Hudson. In the hole, Flores. He got a really good arm. Owings moves up, 2 down. Diamondback Live postgame show coming up right after our ball game here. Joe and Jody will have all the analysis, reaction from the clubhouse. A lot of pitching for Joe to break down heading to our bullpen show tomorrow. Robbie Ray looked good, and Harvey was outstanding. 9 strikeouts, including 5 in a row with 1 point. So 2 outs for Pennington, who's in there at 172, 0 for 4 in starting yesterday's win over Atlanta. Penny 1 for 8 as a pinch hitter this year. He's also walked 4 times pinch hitting. 0-1. Kicks away from Pilecki. And Owens is in at 3rd.
I'll tell you, when the Mets throw a wild pitch, they don't mess around. We've had one ricochet up the first baseline down about the middle of the dugout, and this one rolling up the warning track headed for left field.
How do these guys lay off pitches this close?
Familia's thrown 3 wild pitches since coming into the ball game in the 8th. Those are the only 3 wild pitches he's had all year.
Must be the mound or something. 1-1 pitch. You're throwing wild pitches at 98, 99. They're going to bounce in places you don't want it to go. Pitches so far for the Met closer, almost as many balls as strikes. Terry Collins, Dan Warden. Bob Guerin, the bench coach. 2-2. Terry Finley and plays it perfectly. Trying to avoid all the Met fans.
Yeah, avoid the Met fans.
Well, she gave it to a kid. Nice job. Ball 3 and it's full. Inciarte would be next. Fly ball right field. Mayberry is there. And the D-backs lose the opener this 4-game series, 6-2. They are out hit 14-8 and a 1-0 lead after 5. They were back within 1 at 3-2 after 6, but 6-2 is the final here.
Yeah, really, the story of this ball game was too much John Mayberry Jr. 4 hits in the game, including that 2-run homer in the 9th inning that, for all intent and purposes, put it out of reach for the D-backs tonight.
So we look ahead to tomorrow. Diamondback Live pregame show at 6 o'clock. Jeremy Hellickson and Jonathan Neese, the second of a 4-game series. Before we do that, though, let's start Diamondbacks Live, the postgame show. Joe Borowski has a lot of pitching to talk about. He's standing by with Jody Jackson. Jody.
Thanks, guys. Steve mentioned, Joe, this is a 4-game series, but during the pregame